at Declan Goff is producing. And we're going to talk with Vikings training camp here on the horizon. There's still a lot of things to figure out between the league and the players, but it sounds like there's not going to be preseason games. So how will that impact a Vikings team bringing in 15 drafted players, a bunch of young guys, no preseason games? But a quick shout out to Federated Mutual Insurance Company for helping power Purple Daily. Local business owners here in the state of Minnesota. Federated's been helping business owners for over 100 years. This is a crazy pandemic year. And so, if your business is still operational, that's awesome because a lot of people can't say the same. But if you're looking for better resources, better tools, frontline protection, Federated's the place to go. You can find out more information at federatedinsurance.com. And remember, at Federated Mutual Insurance Company, it's our business to protect yours.
You like that? You like that?
I first want to let you guys know that over on Vikings TikTok, the Vikings have started a new TikTok challenge asking fans to duet themselves catching passes from Kirk Cousins.
I saw this.
So, Judd, I know you're not a TikTok guy yet, but a duet is a split screen where they'll give you the first video, and this is Kirk Cousins dropping back.
This
to
is
throw
a bad
pass,
idea, by the way.
And then you're supposed to fill in the second part of the video catching the pass. And most people are just like having passes sail over their heads. You know, that's not fair because Kirk Cousins statistically is one of the most accurate passers in the NFL. So be more creative, people, if you're going to rip Kirk Cousins, okay? At least have him being like sacked by a push up the middle or something.
Or throwing backwards or...
How about the Vikings don't put their quarterback in the position to be mocked like that? Like, I could tell you that's a bad idea. Like, there are some players that fans will love, and for the most part, if you try and sync up something with that player, fans will be very fair and very, very kind.
Yeah.
Your quarterback's not that guy.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a lack of self-awareness.
Like, what about throwing a pass, sync it up to, like, Thielen or something? No one's going to make fun of him.
Yeah, maybe you're the one scrambling around trying to find Thielen in the corner of the end zone
and then he
or
makes a great catch.
Yeah, you could do it that way. Or
Cousins is the last person on earth that I would put out there if I was the Vikings.
Or you could be an opposing defensive lineman coming around the edge and strip sacking Kirk Cousins for one of his 13 fumbles a couple years ago. But I digress. Okay, I'm not going to rip Cousins.
Here's TJ Clemmings. Yeah. Here's the first part. What happens on this play?
So the latest news here is, and the players and the league are still trying to figure out logistics, namely money and what to do with all the lost revenue in 2020. But both sides have agreed, at least on some of the non-money framework, on daily testing during the first 2 weeks of training camp. They've agreed on non-padded portions for the first few weeks to just get players reacclimated and back in condition and lower the risk of just like being too handsy and touchy. But the most important thing here is for this discussion, it sounds like there's not going to be preseason games. For a while, they were sort of discussing one preseason game, but that brings about competitive balance issues where if half the league gets a home preseason game and they get to walk through and do a dress rehearsal at home, but the other half of the league doesn't, there's teams that are up in arms. So if they don't play preseason games, how do you think it impacts the Vikings specifically, Judd Zulgad?
I think the potential impact on the Vikings is absolutely huge, right? Because you didn't have OTAs, you didn't have the camps, and I think it was one thing to say, well, we're going to virtually teach during the summer months. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, it's not perfect, but I get that. It's going to put players behind a bit. But we're talking about 15 draft picks. We're talking about cornerback positions that are up for grabs. We're talking about a guard competition. The Vikings, I think, are being wise in trying to structure or restructure their roster, turn players' jobs over, and it's not all at once, but it's fairly significant. And now you're telling me, all right, no OTAs, no summer camp, training camp, which is going to be, it looks like a very slow, gradual unfolding that's going to be unlike, the training camps that we've seen previously. And, keep in mind, too, gone for a long time now have been the two-a-days. Now no preseason games at all. I think that it's not the Vikings' fault, but week one is going to come, and I think you're going to say, oh, wow, that got here quick. So I think it's going to be early on for sure, detrimental, very tough. And, this is probably true for a bunch of teams, but just the Vikings process right now, which I sort of like it in what they're trying to do here, is also going to lead probably to some real early season issues.
Yeah, I mean, if you parse this apart, training camp and specifically preseason games, have two major impacts. One is just timing, right? You just want to be able to get out there, and especially if you're on offense, you want to be able to watch guys run routes against opposing defenses and just kind of get that rhythm and that timing down in an actual game. You can simulate some of that in 11-on-11 practice with your own team. We've seen that for years and years. But that is a thing where timing is already off in September football because starters don't play very often in the NFL preseason traditionally. And now timing is probably going to be at its all-time worst because guys haven't worked out together.
Right.
I can't imagine if you're a new coaching staff and you're trying to install an entirely new playbook, like at least the Vikings have the benefit of bringing back the same head coach, the same offensive overlord. Like they're not overhauling their offensive system. It's the same code words, Kirk Cousins, and a lot of those things. But Kirk Cousins does have to work with a rookie wide receiver in Justin Jefferson, and he has to work with some potential new offensive linemen, too, that haven't been regular starters. So there's definitely timing things that need to be worked out. But the other thing is just giving young players a chance to play NFL football and get their feet wet going into a regular season. I would say that that's the one that I'm more concerned about. Like Kirk Cousins can kind of figure it out with Justin Jefferson in practice and on the fly. And if those guys need to work out an extra hour after practice or something, like they can find a way to figure it out. But you brought up the cornerback issue. Really, like cornerback, you definitely have to study. Like there's things that you can do homework-wise, watching film and get tendencies of opposing quarterbacks and wide receivers. But nothing simulates NFL speed like actually getting out there on an island and covering a fast NFL wide receiver.
Absolutely, yes.
So for your first time, like you're going to do your workouts, and obviously like Gladney's going to cover Thielen in practice, and so that's going to help him.
But how much?
But and that speed's not going to be the same as week one NFL speed. Some of these dudes are going to be left out there to figure out NFL speed for the first time in week one against the Packers.
I think that you can make a pretty good case that Jeff Gladney should not start week 1 probably through 4. Like I don't think it's now. I'm not saying he shouldn't play.
But then who starts? So it's Holton Hill.
Yeah, but I am not going to take a position where technique, skill, and confidence is key and wipe out confidence instantly. Like, what is the advantage of Gladney v. the Packers week 1?
Yeah.
Look, I mean, washed or not, Aaron is going to go after him every chance he possibly gets, and rightfully so. And he's not going to be coached up enough to be like, oh, this is going to be fine. I'm going to have a big game, and no. So I think the thought process internally, if you're the Vikings, as far as the approach to playing these kids, has to be changed for the good of the player.
But this is not the season. Like, let's go down the path that you're going down here. And I don't disagree. Like, it's possible that Gladney there's no way that he can be ready to play against some of the quarterbacks the Vikings are going to face in the first month and a half of the season. Well, there's no guarantees that Holton Hill certainly stays healthy or
whose confidence
out of custody,
would you prefer to ruin? I'll take my chances, Holton Hill.
Right, but what I'm saying is that Mike Hughes might get hurt in week 2.
Oh yeah, well then you're just screwed.
And you,
but let's say
Gladney's got to play it and mix in at some point. Like at some point he's got to mix in.
I agree with that. But full complement, everybody can play. Hughes, Hill, blah blah blah. Okay. I would far prefer Holton Hill gets destroyed and, that's too bad, than Gladney.
Yeah, but I think the best strategy for Gladney is to not bench him for the first 4 weeks, but it's probably, all right, you're not going to play 70 snaps.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Aaron Rodgers will eat you alive.
Yes.
And
ball
people
will be whizzing past your helmet hole.
Yep, and people can sit here and like poke holes in Aaron Rodgers' game compared to 5-6 years ago. The one thing he is great at, and all great quarterbacks are, who is the weak link cornerback? And how often can we isolate our best wide receiver on that guy and pick on him?
Yeah.
And that's what will happen early on, too. But the Vikings, it's not unique to the Vikings. There's going to be young cornerbacks or new defensive systems for a lot of these. We could go up and down. I mean, think about, let's look at some of the teams on the schedule here. I mean, Mike McCarthy's bringing in a new offensive system for a Cowboys team that the Vikings are going to play. You've got over in Tampa Bay, I mean, Tom Brady is bringing in, with Bruce Arians, not only a new system and way about going about things, but also they're bringing in some new weapons.
The veteran guys, though, don't concern me. Like, they're going to get it, and it's going to look, we are going to have, to be clear, we're going to have probably 8 weeks of unwatchable football. Like, it's going to be brutal.
It's going to be usually like 3 or 4 weeks, and then they kind of click in.
This is going to be eight weeks or so of just crap, okay? But what concerns me is the young players that I'm trying to develop that I don't say, well, week 1's here, Jeff Gladney, so just go ahead and play.
Yeah.
Now, I'm with you. I ease him in some way, shape, or form. I don't know exactly how, but I definitely play him. But I can't, to your point, take him and say, 70 snaps, let's go.
Yeah.
Veteran guys are going to, it's going to take some time, but I think ultimately they'll be fine.
This is the slate of quarterbacks Jeff Gladney would face as a rookie, testing out NFL speed and everything in the first half of the year. You'd start with Aaron Rodgers, then you go on the road, and Phillip Rivers might not be what he was, but Phillip Rivers can identify a weak link cornerback and pick on him.
That's true, but the ball will be going whoop, 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 right through the air.
But he's, his arm's
wobbling.
His arm will be fresher on September 20th than it would have been in December when the Vikings won last year. Ryan Tannehill had a great season last year for Tennessee.
Yes.
Deshaun Watson.
Oh, yeah. Good luck.
Russell Wilson. Matt Ryan. And then a bye week. And then back to Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
That's a really tough stretch.
You can't play him consistently.
For inexperienced defensive players.
I'm with you.
And all the more reason to have the safety blanket of two guys at safety that make you feel confident.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. That's the puns are always intended on this show.
Get that safety blanket, Declan?
Yes, I did.
What about offensive line in terms of no preseason games? That's another unit that, I mean, like...
Just cross myself.
The offensive line, really what you hear about throughout NFL off seasons is, hey, those guys, in order to form the best bond, it's like you need 5 guys to act as like one moving unit.
Okay, again,
right?
Not going to work.
They lift weights together. They eat together. They take naps together. Maybe not that, but like they haven't been able to spend time together, and Ezra Cleveland's in the mix
Nor
now.
will they.
So how do those guys build rapport and connection and trust only doing
I got a question for you.
11-on-11 practice drills?
Who's your right guard?
Yeah, I don't know.
And is Elflein your left guard for sure?
You find out in practice.
And is Cleveland going to try and get snaps at guard?
You find out in practice.
Reeves going to stay at left tackle? Like there's a bunch of things here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just, it's not, to be clear, nobody is blaming the Vikings, okay? But for what they're trying to do and the changes that they are going to make, basically having your training camp in some ways wiped out is incredibly detrimental. It just is.
It is tough. It is tough. Fortunately for them, I think it's a lot tougher if you're going into a season with like an inexperienced quarterback or something. Like
sure.
If you're going in with... If the Dolphins have any plans of starting Tua or Joe Burrow, like Joe Burrow might be legendary in 10 years from now, but that dude's going to go in and week 1 is going to be live bullets.
Do you start him week 1 now? I don't know that I do with this.
I think who else is in Cincinnati?
I don't care. That's the thing. I don't care. I'll start my dog Stella.
So if it was Sean Mannion backing up Joe Burrow, you would start Sean Mannion week 1?
If I was the Bengals, I might, yeah.
Because
I don't care about
what
this
Judd's
year.
saying is it's less about giving yourself a chance to win, and it's more about how much are you gonna do detrimental things to Joe Burrow's career. Hey, dude, no preseason games. It's like playing.
Yeah.
You ever play Madden and you start on like the lowest level, and then like if you were to play Madden for the first time and start on like the All Pro level or something.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But I mean, Joe Burrow could be. You have to keep in mind you can ruin people. Like there's some people you can't, but you can ruin young players. You really can. We've seen it.
Positions that are the easiest to ruin are the reactionary positions.
Cornerback, quarterback, absolutely.
Offensive lineman. And quarterback's more of a dictator, but you're also like, you have to react to what the
Are you saying
defense is
TJ
doing.
Clemmings got ruined?
Yeah.
Or was he ever not good? Not ever good? I don't know.
Like linebacker, I don't think it's harder to ruin a linebacker because like linebackers are like they're reacting, but you're also not on an island with Julio Jones.
And people and
if you are, it's the coach's
fault.
fault.
People can cover for you there. Like left tackle, you are the left tackle. Linebacker, you screw up. My teammate can save the day for me,
yeah,
right?
Somebody else should have.
But if I get
tackle.
beat at cornerback, if Gladney gets beat, everybody and their brother is going to be like, "Oh, Jeff Gladney just got beat very badly."
Yeah. So I guess the positives would be that this is for everyone. At least you don't risk key guys getting hurt going into the season. Like your chances of Kirk Cousins getting rolled up on in the third preseason game dress rehearsal are 0. So, and guys won't get COVID in a meaningless preseason game. So there are some positives, but for the most part, it's going to be a challenge for the Vikings because of all the young players and some of the positions that they're looking to fill with young players. And they're just going to have to figure it out. I would say the Vikings, with some of their experienced coaches, with Mike Zimmer and Gary Kubiak, are in a better position. Like they've probably put a lot of thought into how can we expedite this learning process in a different way. as opposed to if you're a young coach, you haven't had the experience, and you're trying to put together, COVID plans. I think there's probably a certain calm with Gary Kubiak, at least on the offensive side, and Mike Zimmer's experience on the defensive side that you wouldn't get with other organizations. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
Absolutely, yes.
So that's a wrap on this episode of Purple Daily. Thanks for hanging out with us, and thanks for those of you who have subscribed to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ScoreNorth, and we will see you next time.